Hello everyone and welcome back to Nerf This Patch, the new show I've been doing, talking about gaming news, all things games, and man, today we have a huge one today. It's been a hard debate as far as all my bashing on Microsoft recently, but I gotta say, like, the news today is definitely something that I can't ignore or not talk about, so, let's just get right into it. Big story of the day, Microsoft purchases Bethesda. So I want to start with this. This channel is not about me trying to prove that I'm right about anything. This is simply just an opinionated, this is how I feel about things. But I was right about one thing. The gaming quality matters when you have a new console or a new generation coming out. Everybody was, tweeting me and posting on Facebook and messaging me and was like, well, that's not Microsoft's strategy. Like, they're just working on accessibility. And I said that that's not enough. This deal proves exactly why that's not enough. This is a $7.5 billion acquisition of Bethesda. They know that it matters. Okay, they know they're behind. They know that the studios that they purchased have underperformed for the most part and that they need to deliver big games. There's no argument to be made that, single player quality exclusives, I don't even want to say exclusives yet because I want to dive into this a little bit, but quality games matter. Okay, Microsoft doesn't really care or Sony doesn't care as much if you're going to play Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto, a third-party game, and just that's all you're going to do. They don't care as much. As long as you have their hardware, whatever. But the way that you sell hardware is to have first-party exclusive titles, or at least more and better ones than your other ones. That's the only reason the Switch is relevant. Not because it's a hybrid handheld, it's because it has excellent games, and it's a hybrid handheld. So what does this deal mean? So they now own, I'm going to name off these franchises that they now own the rights to and everything. Dishonored, Wolfenstein, Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, the new Starfield franchise, Evil Within, Prey, and a few other ones here and there like Rage. I think they still own Rage. This is a big deal because the games that they have acquired, most of these have been Game of the Year nominees. Dishonored, 2012. Wolfenstein, close. Skyrim won in 2011. Fallout 3 should have won in 2008, and Fallout 4 was nominated in 2015. Doom was nominated in 2016. Evil Within may be the best horror game I've played in the past 10 years. Prey and Starfield, whatever. This is a great move on Microsoft. This is the kind of move that shows that they aren't lost in what's going on. Okay, they do understand that games matter and accessibility is not enough. Now, there are three things that they need to do with this move that I think would be successful for them, and it would add more value to the Xbox brand. Number one, and this is the easiest one right away, if this is a Game Pass feature, if you can get all these new games from these studios out on Game Pass day one, you've now made Game Pass unbelievably valuable. And when I mean Game Pass, I don't mean just console. I mean console and PC. Game Pass is almost like impossible not to have, and that's a good move. Again, I didn't hate accessibility, but there was not much to access when you don't have studios making great first-party games. This is that good move. Number two, I know this is a weird one, and I want you to kind of stick with me here for a second to understand why I think this is the better move. You need to take these games off Steam. Not the ones that currently exist, whatever. The new games that come out cannot be on Steam. Why is that? Because you already have a PC marketplace that you need to sell your games. If you own the marketplace and you sell your games on that marketplace and all of the profit goes to you and you're not paying fees to, Epic Games or Steam, why not do that? I understand that there's a huge market of people on Steam and you can release it later, but you need to make your brand valuable again. And the way to do that is you have to sell it on your proprietary marketplace. It doesn't make sense if you have these studios and you have the platform that you're trying to build and you just decide to sell it on Steam because you're not making money off that. You're not. Why would you pay Steam, I don't know how much, 20% of the game sales that they sell on your marketplace when you can sell them on yours, the same platform, PC, for no fee and take all the money in? That's the only way to make this brand valuable. And then you can have it sync with the Xbox console and, save files don't have to, you don't have to dick off with that. Like, they all are in sync on the cloud. That seems like a logical move to me. I don't understand why that would ever be a debate. And number three is, you could go either way on this because they're going to make money off these games anyway, even if they are selling them on PlayStation, which I want to touch on later too. Number three is you make them timed console exclusives. If you're going to have people on who own PlayStation and PC and they're not going to buy an Xbox, then you need to say, all right, well, you're going to buy it on PC if you want to play it first. All these people who bought the Xbox console, you have access to it first. Whether it's on Game Pass or sale-wise, that is the only way that you add value to your console. Because if you're just going to release it on all of them, sure, you're making money when you're selling it on PlayStation, but you're not, like, your profit margin is going to be less. Because you have to pay Sony to have that game on there, and they get a percentage cut. Why not make it exclusive and then just give it to them later? It doesn't screw anybody out of anything, and it gives everybody the opportunity to play your game, but it also adds value to your console. Otherwise, why would you buy an Xbox? You could just wait 30 days. If you have a PC, it doesn't matter. See what I'm saying? But if you don't have a PC, and you love PlayStation games and you can't afford both, the incentive to buy an Xbox first is gone because you can just get it on PlayStation, get all their exclusive games, and then after 30 days, you just play whatever. Like, if you add the game on Xbox first, there is more incentive. And forget what I said about, you can wait 30 days. If they're both released on the same day, then there's no incentive to buy an Xbox. You need to create value for your hardware. I think this is one of the best moves that they could have made. But at the same time, this isn't a promise for anything. I think Wolfenstein, I'll get into it later. There's a game I want to play later that says it's patched or nerfed, which we'll take each game and we'll decide if the franchise is better now that Microsoft owns them or worse. And I think it'll get really interesting. But this is the right move. Now, there was somebody who posted up saying, like, well, what about, I think Deathloop and some other game, Ghostwire Tokyo, whatever. Those are owned by Bethesda, and they were PlayStation exclusives. Well, I have a tweet from Jason Schreier that shows exactly what they're going to do with that. To answer the question everyone is asking, Phil Spencer tells Dina Boss that Xbox plans to honor the exclusivity commitment for Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo. Future Bethesda games will be on Xbox, PC, and other consoles on a case-by-case basis. That's huge. They could play this either way. Number one, you could release it on PlayStation consoles when everybody wins, and you're getting the money for that game anyway. Or you can decide to cut them out, and everybody now has to buy your console or play on PC, and you get the money directly, and, the availability is still there, and you have more value to your brand. I see no problem with either. If I had to, I would pick somewhere in the middle where you would release it on your Xbox hardware first, or PC, and then later release it on PlayStation. PlayStation does this too. Sometimes Nintendo will do this, not with their first-party games, but like with certain games. Like, they'll just wait and take a licensed game later. This is exactly what they needed to do. This is exactly how you create value, but they haven't done it yet. This is just promises, and I've had enough of promises from Microsoft. I've bashed them for months, for years, about having mediocrity. This is a good step in the right direction. All these promises of the studios that they've made, that they've bought in the past couple of years, they're not Bethesda. This is how you become relevant again. You can punch Sony in the mouth with this, because when the next Skyrim, Elder Scrolls game, and the next Fallout game is on the shelf, and you make it an Xbox, PC, Windows 10 specifically, exclusive, and the only way that you can play this game is to either buy an Xbox or have a Windows 10 PC and buy it on their marketplace, you're gonna create some value, and you're gonna shake heads, and Sony's gonna have to respond. Competition is a good thing. When Sony has all these games and Microsoft have all these games and they're separate from each other and they have to be better than each other to stay relevant and create value for their hardware, that's when gaming's at its best. Okay? Xbox has no value without Halo back in the day because Halo needed to be better than what was on PlayStation to stay relevant. Otherwise, everyone would just keep buying PlayStations and no one would buy an Xbox. It matters. Everybody who's just like, oh, well, I just play it as a multiplayer machine, we don't care about that. You can play those games on any platform and it doesn't matter. This is what matters. The games matter. Xbox finally has shown that they give a shit about games mattering, and they bought one of the best studios maybe ever. They're a top 10 all time, easily. So, I give credit where credit's due. Microsoft, you did a good job with this. You need to deliver now. You have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 franchises that have all been nominated for Game of the Year or at least scored 90 plus on Metacritic. Like, this is your time to deliver. If you make these games franchises worse, whether that be by quality or, bombardment of microtransactions or whatever, I mean, you've already been shown to shut down a lot of other studios. Like, you can't mess this up. I don't think you will. I think this is the perfect move for them. This makes me more optimistic for the Xbox brand than I've ever had before. At the same time, though, I'm going to wait and see because you guys have burnt me in the past, and I need to see what happens going forward. Good to have you in. Let's get to the news. So the Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X pre-orders start tomorrow. I don't have the exact times in front of me. We can pull that up later, but I like how they're handling this in comparison to Sony. Sony's been really weird about how their pre-orders are going to be, and Xbox has been pretty clear-cut. I don't think these are going to sell out as quickly as people think, but I do like that Microsoft's handling it a lot better. They're giving an option. They're giving multiple options. I think there's going to be more people in demand for the S than I think for the X, and which is totally fine. It's a $300 console. I do wish that they would clarify a little bit on how they're going to handle Xbox One. Is Halo going to release on Xbox One or not? Like, those games that they had in the shell that they're saying, it's going to be on Series X, the new series and the old one. Like, I think you need to be a little bit more clear about how you're going to handle those. Outside of that, though, I'm excited to see how this is going to work. I think that the hardware for the X is really impressive. I've heard it's better than the PlayStation's. I also like how they've had the customization that you can add hard drive space to it. In PlayStation, we don't know anything about that yet. Like, I don't want to hate on this hardware, specifically on the hardware side, because I think it's good. I just don't think that the games support it or make it valuable enough to spend $300 or $500 on it. But I hope I'm wrong. I would like to see here in the next couple days how this looks. I've also never seen this close to release, like release pre-ordering and pricing this close to release. It kind of makes me a little nervous, but we'll see what happens. The backwards compatibility is huge. It gives people an incentive to trade in their old Xboxes and get these new ones that get set. So I like the move. I'm curious to see what will happen. Finally, Avengers has a patch coming out, version 1.3, that fixes over 1,000 issues, which, if you've played this game, and I've played enough of it, it's fun enough. I have no intention on playing multiplayer at all, but why did they not delay this game? Like, there's something about this that just kind of, like, something about reading, like, this patch fixes 1,000 issues. 1,000 issues is a lot of fucking issues. Like, this game should have been delayed. I was kind of shocked it wasn't. I know it was delayed before, but it should have been delayed again, especially with COVID. Like, that crunch time to really get the game up to snuff. It's fun. It's flashy. I understand why a lot of people have not played it or were scared of it. I thought this was going to be one of the worst games of the year, and it's okay. Like, I have more fun with it than I thought. I think the story is really interesting, but I didn't even look up the patches because I just knew. I was like, all right, well, all this stuff is either going to fix the multiplayer, which I don't give a shit about, or, just make the game run, which it should have. So, I don't know. It's weird that any news article says this 0.1 or 1.3 patch is fixing over 1,000 issues is ever a good thing about your game. Like, normally patches are supposed to fix like a handful of things or balance. I don't think this is part of that. Okay, so back to Microsoft and back to Bethesda real quick. I want to play a little game called Patch or Nerf'd. And what I want to do is I want to take each studio individually, or every franchise, not studio, they're all the same studio. And I want to talk about and predict if I think that they're going to be better off patched with Microsoft's acquisition, or if they're going to actually be worse because of this, negatively affected, nerfed. I think this will be a fun game. I kind of want to give a brief reason as to why I think these franchises are going to be affected. Most of these probably won't be, but it's fun to kind of look into the future and kind of see what could possibly happen. So here we go. Okay. So let's start with Elder Scrolls. Is this franchise going to get better or worse with the acquisition of Microsoft? I was kind of in the middle of this, but I think this is going to get better. So patched. I think that this franchise is going to sell regardless. I think that it does a really good job of keeping its quality. Outside of Elder Scrolls Online, like when they make a single player Elder Scrolls game, even the ones I don't like Oblivion and Morrowind, like they rate really well, they sell really well, and they keep players engaged for a long time. And if you're a Game Pass member, keeping people on that would be really beneficial. I also think that this is probably the most, next to Fallout, the most recognizable, franchise that they have, and this being the identity of Microsoft would be huge moving forward. So I think this will help a lot. You can market the hell out of this game and sell this game, and you can make this exclusive to Game Pass, you can make this exclusive to Xbox hardware, and you immediately jump 5 times in value. So I think this is good for Elder Scrolls. Wolfenstein, I think, is already a struggling franchise enough, and the fact that it has struggled the way it has makes me think that Microsoft is not going to support it the same way. So I think this one's going to get nerfed. I think that these are good games, but they don't sell well. Why, I don't know. They're always rated around the same, 85 to 90, and you know, ratings are arbitrary for sure, but the sales not backing them up makes me think that Microsoft's going to focus on everything else. And if they did make another Wolfenstein, it would be a smaller game, which is a shame. I really enjoy this franchise. It's frustrating at times and can get a little boring, but I think that, you know, I hope I'm wrong about this one, but my guess says Wolfenstein's not going to grow or get better because of Microsoft. So, Dishonored, one of my personal favorites. Patched or nerfed? This one's easy. This one's going to get patched. So, this game was nominated for Game of the Year back in 2012, and while Dishonored 2 didn't sell as well as they thought it would, I think that Microsoft kind of understands that the potential this franchise has, and it's sold well in the past, unlike Wolfenstein, which is just kind of sold okay. You know, Dishonored is one of those franchises where there aren't a lot of Microsoft games like that. There are a lot of, you know, they don't really have their own stealth franchise. They kind of have Splinter Cell's multi-platform. You could really expand on this, and you know, this could be a big, you know, it kind of reminds me of Tomb Raider. I know Tomb Raider was multi-platform, but you could have the timed exclusivity with it, and you could make, you know, Corvo, whoever you want in the game, to be the face of your next couple of years. Like when they did promos for Tomb Raider with Gears and Halo, Lara was shown as a Microsoft character, even though she wasn't. And Dishonored, you could do Corvo with that as well. I think this franchise will do a lot better with Microsoft. Doom, patch or nerf. This one's easy, because when you think Xbox, most games you think of are shooters, and Doom's one of the best shooters I've ever played. So hell yeah, this is going to get better with Microsoft. Same thing I just said about Corvo or Lara Croft. You put Doom guy in the front and be like, here is one of the best single player and kind of multiplayer shooters that there are, and we're just going to make it bigger and more badass, and you know, we're going to have it synced with xCloud, and you can play this shooter on the go, and it's going to run so smooth. That's perfect. This is what you want. Doom's an excellent franchise, and you can really push this and create value for your brand with games like this. Games that are easily recognizable and are slowly growing to be bigger and bigger than they were even at their peak a couple of years ago. So, Doom 2016 was a great game. That game kind of just got better as the years went on. I was like, oh wait, this game's significantly badass. So, Doom I think will do really well with it. Evil Within, patched or nerfed. This one I was kind of flippy-floppy on, but Microsoft doesn't really have a lot of horror franchises. You know, Resident Evil, as much as we like to pretend that it's valuable on Xbox, that's been a Sony exclusive for a while, and they kind of just sell better on PlayStation platforms. But if you can make this an exclusive, and you can get the entire horror genre, all these fans that love horror games to kind of, you know, switch over, that's an absolute yes. Now, I didn't play Evil Within 2. I remember it was really good, and I don't think it sold as well as Bethesda thought. But, you know, you are diversifying your platform. Say you made this one a Game Pass exclusive. Or even if it wasn't a Game Pass exclusive, let's just say it was on Game Pass. I think people would give this a shot. I think a lot of people are afraid to go all in on horror games. But, you know, if you have Game Pass and you try this out for a couple days, I think a lot of people who don't play those kind of games will jump in. You know what I mean? I think Outlast is on there, and that really benefited from being on a streaming platform. I don't think a lot of people would have bought Outlast outright, if that makes sense. Okay. Prey, patched or nerfed. This one's easy. This one is not going to do much better. The backlash behind this game when it first came out, how frustrating it was and how glitchy it was, and you know, I don't think Microsoft really knows what to do with this. I figure they would rather invest more in Dishonored and franchises like that over this one. This screams you know, this was a cool experiment, but we're kind of done with this. And I think Microsoft is well, we need to hit home runs. We're not going to play around with maybe games. We need to put everything into, you know, Skyrim and Fallout and, you know, Dishonored. Prey kind of seems like it's going to go away again. I know everybody was freaking out that they wanted this franchise back, but since it's come back, it's been a very niche fan base, and I don't think it's going to get much better. So they may make a smaller game on Game Pass, but nah. My guess is this is going to get worse. Starfield, patched or nerfed? I don't know much about this game. All I know is that if you have Microsoft's budget for advertising the hell out of it, and all the Skyrim Bethesda fans are, you know, going geeking out of it, I think it's probably good to have this as an exclusive on your platform, especially since it's so early in development. This one's kind of in the air, though. I don't know anything about this game. I know it's a big franchise coming, and, you know, if you can implement it well with xCloud if it's a experience game that or EXP game that you have to continuously play and you can kind of log in any point in any time. Like I think that's really helpful. But having the marketing behind this is going to be huge because I don't know if anybody really knows what Starfield is that isn't like a hardcore Bethesda fan. I mean, sure as hell I don't, and I play almost everything. Finally, the big one, Fallout. Patched or nerfed? And the answer is, I don't know. Why do I not know? Because you could do whatever you want with this, and it could have mixed results. I don't know, like unlike Skyrim, where you create value with the hardcore if you make an exclusive, Fallout's kind of more casual. Not that it's more casual as far as gameplay or depth or anything like that. More people, I feel like, who don't care about video games as much as people who enjoy Skyrim like Fallout, and you could really play with this a little bit. What if you did make this a hardware exclusive? Would you sell more? Would you sell more putting it on PlayStation right away and just understanding that you're just going to get the profit from making the software? You make it a Game Pass exclusive? Like, I don't know how that would affect a franchise like this. Again, with Skyrim, it's pretty obvious that those hardcore fans are going to buy those games. I think people are a little bit more hesitant with Fallout. I think with Fallout 4, people are more worried that it's going to turn into a shooter. And I am too, and that's another reason why I'm a little nervous. I don't want Fallout to be a shooter. I want Fallout to be an RPG. And I don't know how they're going to handle this. If I had to pick right now, I would say, yeah, it's probably going to be better. But you got to be really careful with this franchise. This is one of your most valuable franchises, and you could push a lot of people away if you try to Halo this up, or you try to, you make it exclusive. However, the platforms that it's on, like if you put it on PC and it doesn't run well on PC, like you're kind of screwed. This one I'm up in the air on, but I think he'll probably do better. All right, so those are my thoughts on the new, Xbox acquisition of Bethesda. I think this was the best move that they could have ever made, and I hope this continues. I hope Microsoft buys more studios, to be perfectly honest. I hope they don't ruin them, and I still think that we need to wait and see what they do with these studios. But overall, I'm very pleased with them. This is exactly what I wanted. I wanted focus on games. I was so done talking about accessibility being quality. They're not the same thing. But when you have quality and then accessibility to complement that, I mean, Sony's got to react. They can't just, well, they've stopped Microsoft on exclusives and first-party games. This was a huge wake-up call to be like, oh, stay on your toes, Sony, because if you start slacking off, Microsoft at this new studio is going to start blowing you out. And that's when competition is the sweetest for us gamers, because when two companies are really fighting it out for quality, everybody wins. Everybody wins. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope to see you next week, and keep on gaming.